Good evening. This public hearing conducted by the Committee on Appropriation and Adjudication will now come to order. Notice of the public hearing was disseminated to all local media outlets by electronic format on Monday, November the 20th, with a second notice provided on Friday, December the 1st, 2017. Notice the hearing was also made known on the legislature's website. We only have one bill on the agenda today, and that's Bill 204. I want to thank Ms. Masnayan, the administration of Simon Sanchez High School, and Mr. Bynum for the invitation to come and speak here. And I want to thank the students and the parents for coming out this evening. The bill that is under consideration today was introduced by Senator Frank Uggan, and so I will allow him to do the official greeting and also acknowledge all the guests that he wishes to and introduce the bill. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairman. And first of all, I just want to publicly thank the Speaker for having this public hearing held here at Simon Sanchez High School. And I want to thank Ms. Masnayan, Mr. Finonia, and also recognize Mayor Matanani, former Mayor Lizama, the Guam Education Board member Lou San Nicolas, and also the Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Sanchez. Hafa and good evening to the students, teachers, and staff, and the community stakeholders who could be here this evening to present your testimonies on Bill 204, that's 34. If there is one thing that is abundantly clear, it is that the students, faculty, and staff of Simon Sanchez High School need a new school. They have made their voices heard as they are the true stakeholders in this situation, who have faced a multitude of challenges over the years, including competing contractors and issues of procurement that have hindered the rebuilding of a new campus. Bill 204, that's 34, gives authority to the Guam Department of Education as they are the governing arm over Simon Sanchez High School. GDOE understands the critical need for a new campus and are the greatest advocates in moving this project forward. The bill will allow GDOE to take full ownership of the procurement process and will contribute to the accountability and transparency of the procurement process and the progress of the construction of a renovated or newly constructed school. It is still my hope that the Attorney General's office settles pending protests so that DPW can move forward with the award. But if the trend of protests continue, Bill 204-34 is the way forward. The time is now to rebuild Simon Sanchez and rebuild a new campus to the respect it so rightfully deserves. I look forward to hearing all of your testimonies and answering any of the questions that you may have regarding the proposed legislation. I especially want to thank the students and the parents who have come out to let your voices be heard this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge my colleagues who have joined me, my vice chairman of this committee, Senator Uggan, Senator San Nicolas, Senator Castro, and Senator Snagastine. I'm going to go down the list, and I know some of you had checked off and some of you didn't put any marks. So I'll just acknowledge the names that are on the list in the order that they've signed in. If you wish to testify and you're going to come up and testify, please come forward. If you're not, I understand that you're just either going to be submitting written testimony or you're just signed in support. So don't feel compelled to come forward if it wasn't your desire to testify publicly today. And I'll just go down the list. Maria Kuksai, Noel DeGracia, Tommy feel it. Emil Laksamana. Emil Laksamana. Joyce Martin. Iris McNeil. Okay, and let's fill in the last seat. Thomas Pasia. No. Paulo Sorio. I guess we're just going to go straight down the line.
Test, 1, 2, 3.
Introduce yourself and
Good evening, I'm Emil Tamana. I'm a senior here in Simon Sanchez. I support the bill 204-34 by Senator Frank Uggan. I'm sick and tired about this rebuild issue. If you can't listen to me telling the truth, then leave. Because I'm gonna be honest about the school. I feel unsafe to be in school. The paint job, the disgusting restrooms, and the fine arts programs need help. Street Fine Arts needs an auditorium. Band choir and show choir needs it really badly. Because the rooms are really small and hot. Next, the restrooms has no stalls for the urinals or locks on the doors for the toilets. Lastly, the school needs a literally paint job. There's a saying in this, just don't say it, just do it. I know the students would do their very best for this bill to happen, so please make it happen.
thank you. If you can provide that in writing to the staff and the next student.
Is this on? Okay. Greetings. My name is Isis McNeil, and I am a junior currently attending Simon Sanchez High. I'm in support of the bill 204-34 because I believe this will be the end and reward to our protests to give the people of Sanchez and other schools not only what we want, but what we need. During the course of years that this issue has been going on, the construction companies have managed to make the reconstruction of Antillon Middle, JFK, Ukuru, and Teason High. As for the construction of Teason High, it's reasonable because the rapid concern number of students, but even their school looks junk. As for temporary fixes at Sanchez, there's no use if other parts of the school are constantly breaking down and may cause injuries in the near future, hence waste of funds. The classes aren't well ventilated, the fountain water tastes disgusting, desks breaks on students, and there aren't enough materials for education purposes, example for books and desks. Air conditioning in classrooms are a huge problem as well. For the band and choir rooms, they hadn't had air conditioning even before I became a freshman. Also to mention that the band instruments have been used since Sanchez was first built, and that was more than 20 years ago. We can't utilize the stage in the CAF, which is right behind you, for the choir because it's too hot in here and we share a cafeteria with the middle school. And for the concern number here at Sanchez, over 1,000 numbers, 800 students here attending, it takes time to eat lunch here because students have to hurry up and eat lunch and then get out for new students, for a new batch of students to eat. Why should a high school share their cafeteria with another school? Who in their right mind would have thought? And classrooms are too small for working conditions. For example, the IT Essentials Lab, maybe ProStar as well, marketing, LMP, all the GCC courses here, our labs are too small compared to like JFK and Ukudu. And not to mention, there are moss growing in every parts of this school, from the windows, the pixie glass windows to the bathrooms, and maybe there are even other health conditions that we aren't aware about. If you guys are really concerned about the education, then I suggest checking out the environment that each schools are in and see the comparison. And I hope it'll give you an insight of what schools are managing to be in the environment that they're in. And for us to be capable in managing about the condition that we're in, it's surprising that the students here are still fighting, even though most of us here are seniors and they're willing to fight for a new school, even though they're graduating still in this school that's still crumbling down from the year, from it's starting to be coming down. And I know that it won't be rebuilt by the time I graduate, but I'm concerned about future generations just in case, so ceiling tiles won't fall on the students, because I've seen ceiling tiles fall all the time. And they keep, what Emil said, they keep repainting schools, but they keep repainting our school, because, new visitors come, but there's no point is showing, like, if we keep repainting, but the conditions here aren't as good as the paint, So that concludes my testimony.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, fellow students, admin, faculty, staff, and members involved of the rebuilding of Simon A. Sanchez High School. My name is Joyce Martin. But before we start, I would like to say that I am a little nervous, but if it does take a shy and meek voice to be heard, then so be it. We are gathered here again to discuss Bill 204-34. But before we begin, I would like to give an award to the students and staff of Simon Sanchez High School for enduring lives of the rebuilding of Sanchez. Our school is like a tightly packed tuna. Students are forced to walk close to each other because of the size of our school campus that accommodates a large population. The teachers share classroom every day. Finding their location, not during instructional hours, has become a game of hide-and-go-seek. The leaks in the ceilings and holes in the wall are painted in our daily life. Sanchez is filled with athletes, artists, scholars, and so many more. But behind every cover, there is a story. Do people know that the dance team has to practice somewhere else because they no longer have a classroom? People in sports or gym don't have the proper facility or equipment to practice. JROTC turned the supposed stage, which is behind you, into a classroom. When it rains after school, you're lucky if you can even stick your hand under the small bus loading area for shelter. At least you get to rinse off the fear of not standing under a ceiling so old, ready to go into a coma. Every time I go out in public, people ask me things. They ask me where I go to school, and my shark pride starts to come out. But then they tell me things like, is your school built yet? Or, Telu, you come from a ghetto school. Your school is so ugly and ghetto looking. My face would burn with embarrassment. Sanchez has so many issues, it feels like problems originate from this school. Not to offend our current legislature on Guam, but it does not seem to be their priority to care for the safety and education of students in the public school system. If they did, then this issue would have been resolved by now. Rebuilding our school would prove that those elected into leadership are fulfilling their promises and duties to the people on Guam. I believe that if the student were given a proper facility, it would prove to contribute to molding honest and productive future leaders of Guam. Thank you.
Hafaday, good evening, senators and speaker. I just wanted to personally thank you for coming out in support of the Bill 204-3. And I'd like to commend you for your efforts in helping our school and towards the rebuild of Simon Sanchez. So I just want to first start off in saying, just to look around the school right now. And look at the circumstances that we are facing right now. We are still in the same and current position as we were the last meeting that we had with Senator Rodriguez and the many other efforts that senators had came and over to in regards to rebuilding our school of Simon Sanchez. So senators, my message to you is that we really need to act quickly and think critically in regards to rebuilding Simon Sanchez High School. This is the future of our education and our future leaders that will lead Guam. And we really need to take this into consideration because everybody, especially all these faces that you see here, is our future. And I thank you so much for coming out here and spending your time out of your busy schedule to work in rebuilding Simon Sanchez High School. And I hope that this bill does go as planned and that every effort that you promised to do will go as planned. I thank you, senators and speaker, for your time, and that concludes my testimony.
Testing. Hello, good evening, senators. My name is Tommy Hillett. I am currently a senior, and I am here to support the Bill 204-34 for Rebuild Simon Sanchez High School. I've been in Sanchez since freshman year, where all of the circumstances that caused so much trouble throughout a year on the article or in the news. And now, it still is going on and on and on. I'm very surprised that we all can manage to talk about these problems, what was being happening throughout past years. Restroom is the main reason I dislike about. Restroom can be very look rotten and smells like poos to me. Mostly boys' restroom is an example. They may start trashing our school's property because to make this look dirty or start spitting beetle nut can ruin the school walls and floors, which someone might step on it. It smells like bad odors to me at the restroom because it happens anytime. Sink weren't as clean like before. They were used to apply soap for washing hands back then. However, they already used it all for months, and the janitor didn't apply soaps sometimes. Especially girls' restroom can also do the same exact thing. That's all I have to say, because for all of our testimony, we have different opinion to say for all the Sanchez students, to those who care about our future students, and the Sharks family willing to fight for our rights. We were tired waiting to promise to those who may not have promised us to rebuild this problem. We will never be ignored to this circumstance. We can't do nothing but trouble, and also, we have the power to manage this school system. Thank you.
Test. Hello. Good evening, senators. My name is Paulo Osorio. I'm a senior here at Simon Sanchez. I support with Bill 204-34 introduced by Senator Uggan because it gives us hope that something will finally happen after 5 years of promising a new school. The education brought upon me and my peers has been hindered with the limited resources provided. The inconvenience of having to transfer and share rooms, repairs and renovations that will only last in a blink of an eye, is unnecessary in students and teachers in their everyday life here in the school. Hazards that our school have that make us worry. We should be worrying about our next upcoming test, not worry about the next time we slip from our hallways when the rain pours on us. We should worry about the projects that are due, not worry about the rats that come by to say hi to us. My brother from the class of 2013 was promised a new school. My class, the class of 2018, was promised a new school, and look where we are now. By the time my little sister goes to high school, I want her to see the new school. This bill will push this prolonged promise to its glory, and I stand behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, students. And I really, if possible, it'll help us with the transcription. If you all provide us with a copy of your testimony, just give it to the women at the desk, please. And if any senators wish to ask any questions, they may just hold on a second, see if anybody has any questions. If not, we'll call up another panel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and students, thank you so much for participating in this process. You know, when I was looking out at the audience a little earlier, there's one thought that came to mind, and that's when the students all got together several weeks back and you all took a knee as a silent protest and a reminder to your leaders that something has got to be done. And I thank you for participating in this process, and our obligation now, whether it's this bill or another piece of legislation, is to make sure that we get this construction beginning, so that in fact, some of you mentioned that, or one of you mentioned that you hope that your little sister will be able to come to a brand new school facility. Well, we're hoping that we can get this process going so that ultimately you can get, Simon Sanchez can get his school rebuilt. So thank you again for your testimony this evening.
Thank you very much. You're excused. We'll call up the next panel. Hasey San Jose. Nikita Santos. Nikita Santos. Josie Kaasi. Matthew Fernandez. Judy Lindavera. Why don't we go with this group? Okay, thanks. We'll start at that end and we'll just work down. Introduce yourself, state your name, and then give your testimony. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Hasey San Jose, and I'm a junior and the SBA secretary here at Sanchez. I support Bill 204-34, written by Senator Frank Uggan. If this bill pulls through, I'll be missing my favorite parts about the school: the leaky ceilings, the uneven ventilation system, the holes in the floor, and even the rats running around campus. The spit on the walls, the power outages, the cafeteria we share, and the flooded science building. I'll miss the school popping up in the news and articles for all of its problems. The rest of the island could never look at us as students, because all we focus on is how our school looks. No one sees the brilliant minds of 30,000 students or any potential that we really have. And although our students manage even in the worst of conditions, enough is enough. The government can't just push new offers into our hands, yet we still walk away with nothing. We don't need DPW ignoring us like we're ants that are yelling, but they're giant elephants. We don't need to turn this school into something that's not, like a charter school. And we don't need to keep painting over things and expecting that to fix our problems. Disregard the governor and his politics, or the contracting companies and their money. If they really cared about our education, we wouldn't have to try so hard to get their attention. We don't need any more promises that people don't plan on keeping. Focus on the opportunity that we have right now. I shouldn't be sitting here having to tell all these people how to do their job. It shouldn't take another broken classroom or a student getting hurt to get our point across. Generations more of students shouldn't have to go through what we're going through. Learning in a school that is breaking with each passing day and gathering in a cafeteria just to prove it to the world. With this bill, the Department of Education can actually do what hasn't been done before. We can get a new school for everyone here at Simon Sanchez High School. I don't know about you guys, but 5 years of this is a little long overdue. Thank you.
Testing. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jovic Kaasi, and I am a senior at Simon Sanchez High School. Okay. And I support Bill 204-34, proposed by Senator Frank Uggan. I've spent all my years in high school trying to make the best out of our dilapidated facilities, and I am sure that others can say the same. But I am tired of traversing through these hallways, watching things fall apart or being repaired. I'm tired of using these poorly maintained restrooms, always walking into the smell of urine and feces. And I am tired of feeling unsafe. And all that we are left with is a promise to rebuild, to see a new school. But we deserve more than empty promises and empty words, and we want to see action. And it's time to turn this vision of a new school into a reality. And although I will probably not see this vision in my high school life, I hope that future students will be able to see this vision of a new school that they are proud to attend. A Simon A. Sanchez High School that is better than what it is now. And I believe that Bill 204-34 can do that.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Nikita Santos, and I'm a senior here at Simon Sanchez High School. I'm here to voice my concern about the current conditions of Sanchez, and with that, in support of Bill 204-34. This bill would be a huge step in working towards getting this school rebuilt. Since I was in middle school, the government has brought up the conversation that the conditions are unsafe for our students, yet nothing major has been done. Even up till now, people in place are making it more difficult to get the gears going. It's as if everything we say is falling on deaf ears. All we want is for our school to be rebuilt. Although the students and teachers that will make Sanchez great, we're tired. The facility is falling apart and deteriorating, and it's us who have to deal with it every day. All these small band-aids aren't helping to fix the bigger problem. You expect so much from our future leaders, yet these are the resources you give us. It's unacceptable. Stop wasting money on irrelevant things like paint to cover up the mold, plywood to cover the holes, and trash bags to cover broken toilets. I may be graduating this school year, but that doesn't mean I won't stop fighting for a better learning environment for the next generations to come. Before I close out, let me ask you this last question. Would you send your child or children to Simon Sanchez in its current state? Because if I was a parent, I wouldn't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Testing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Fernandez, and I am a senior at Simon Sanchez High School. I'm in support of Bill 204-34 made by Senator Frank Uggan because we have been waiting and waiting for our school to be rebuilt. Over the past years, we keep being told that our school is going to be rebuilt soon, but still nothing has happened. Even when I was in middle school, I thought Simon Sanchez would be rebuilt by the time I started high school. But I'm a senior now, and I'm still attending the same old school that continues to decay as the years go by. There are air conditioning problems in many of the classrooms. Some rooms are too cold and the aircon doesn't even work in some classes. A lot of classrooms are using old chalkboards, broken desks, and exposed lighting that are not even covered. There are holes in the ceilings and walls, so if an earthquake were to occur, the lights and the ceiling will easily collapse. Our restrooms are unsanitary. The toilets get clogged, and it is like our restrooms are not ever clean. The students would put more effort in keeping the restrooms clean if they were in a proper condition, but since the restrooms are just too dirty, there's no point in even trying. Painting the walls is not going to cover the true condition of this school. Part of our school was even closed down because it was a health hazard. Our students deserve a more sanitary gym as well as our visitors during home games, so they don't think our school is hazardous to be at. Even when our school is old, rotting, and breaking, we still continue to persevere. We deserve a new school. The students are great and the teachers are amazing, so they should have a healthy learning environment by giving them a new school. Don't make us wait any longer. We need a new school and we need it now. I'm getting tired of these promises to rebuild our school because none of them are being kept. I'm already halfway through my last year of high school, and unfortunately, it is going to be another class that doesn't get a chance to go to a new school. But I may not be here for the new school, but our school still needs to be rebuilt right away for the sake of our teachers, staff, and future students that attend this school. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass the mic down, young man.
Hello? Okay, ma'am. Good evening, my name is Julian De Vera, and I am a senior of Simon Sanchez High School, and I am here in support of the Bill 204-34, which is the bill about rebuilding of Simon Sanchez High School. At first, I thought that after the night of not letting Simon Sanchez be a charter school and telling us that we will continue to fight our way until the school has been rebuilt, that there would actually be progress. But all I've been hearing are empty promises and tons of excuses. All I hear are these talks about, yes, we will rebuild Simon Sanchez High School because we care for the students. But I don't think so. Because if you really care about the welfare and safety of the students as well as their education, then there should be progress being done to the school. Please do not tell me that it has already been taken care of. Because if it's already been taken care of, then I wouldn't be here telling you all about rebuilding the school. There are holes on the wall, there are cracks on the walls of the building, some toilets in the restroom are broken and cannot be used by the students. Roofs are leaking when it's raining, and there are more broken things than there are new things. There are so many bad and hazardous conditions that Sanchez has that if I tell you each and every one of them, it would take us up until tomorrow morning. When will you ever rebuild Sanchez? Do you need to see it crumble down before your very eyes just for you to see and realize that we need to rebuild it? I have been hopeful and patient about this situation for far too long. If you are tired of us telling you over and over again about rebuilding Sanchez, then we are also tired of hearing all of these promises about doing it, but nothing's being done. We want Simon Sanchez to be rebuilt. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm glad everyone was able to make time to be out here tonight. I appreciate your testimony and the testimony of the panel that was up here before. I just kind of wanted to talk about an observation that I'm having with regards to the testimony. Everyone's coming up and they're saying that they're supporting Bill 204 and they're talking about what's wrong with the school. And I acknowledge what's wrong with the school, but is everyone familiar with exactly what Bill 204 is going to do? What Bill 204 does is it basically takes out all of the other agencies that are involved with the decision making in rebuilding your school, and it just makes the Guam Department of Education be the one agency that makes that decision. And by doing that, we don't necessarily prevent the likelihood of any protests. There might still be protests, but there's another specific piece of language that's included here in the bill that says that if there is any kind of challenge, the Department of Education, after getting consultation with the Attorney General, can get written concurrence, their written agreement, that they can ignore whatever those protests are and just move forward with the school. And that's basically what Bill 204 is going to do. And I just want everyone to fully understand how that's going to work, because from my perspective, there are pluses and minuses with taking this approach. The pluses is that by reducing the number of agencies that are involved, it does streamline the process of having an agency basically make a decision as to what kind of school you're going to get. But sometimes having less input isn't necessarily the best thing either, because there's different agencies that have different areas of expertise. What's happening right now is that we're involving these different agencies, in particular DPW, and the decisions that DPW is making with respect to your school is getting protested by the contractors who are putting in the bids for your school. And what's happening is that as the protest goes through its process, the officials who are responsible for reviewing those protests are kicking it back, saying, DPW, you did something wrong here or you did something wrong there. And the reason why the protest process works like that isn't just to make the situation complicated or to delay it for everybody. It's actually put in there to also protect you. It's put in there to protect you from getting a school that's poorly designed. It's put in there to protect you from getting a contractor that may not know what they're doing. And the whole protest process is intended to make sure that everybody who's trying to build your school is looking out for everybody else. And if somebody else is doing something wrong, everyone's going to call each other on that. If we make that process simpler, it may move your school forward faster, but at the expense of getting other people to hold each other accountable. Okay, so I just want you guys to fully understand that that's what's on the table. Because if the Department of Education makes a decision and doesn't factor in certain things that another agency's expertise could have helped them to better understand, that could result in a school that is less than ideal for what you possibly would have wanted. And if that were to happen and they just got the Attorney General to approve it and throw out whatever protests other participants may have, that could result in everybody just saying, you know, never mind what the other concerns might be, we're just going to move forward. And there's, like I said, there's pluses and minuses to that. For me, what I would prefer is if we're involving different groups, if we're involving different agencies, or if we're involving different contractors and they're all holding each other accountable, I want there to be a consequence when someone holds someone accountable and they don't do what they're supposed to do. One of the reasons why this has been delayed for so long is because we have the same people screwing up over and over again, and nobody's being held accountable. You should get fined, you should lose your job, you should have something happen to you if you're not doing it right. That's what I would propose, and it's kind of separate to what this hearing is about, but it's a separate bill that I've introduced to create a consequence. If somebody is not doing their job in the procurement process and there's a protest and they get nailed for it, somebody should get fined. And by creating that consequence, we create the environment where people will be less inclined to be so reckless and waste your time and cause you guys to go through these delays. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood how this bill works. It may move things faster, but it does come at a cost. But your legislature is also looking at other ways to try and fix this broken system. And I wanted to also just apologize on behalf of at least myself as an elected official that we're just not able to move it as quickly as everybody would like. I was a teacher here at Simon Sanchez. I taught here over 12 years ago. I shared a classroom with Mr. Healy. I taught Guam history. And back then the school needed to be rebuilt. And so, I really empathize with what you guys are talking about here today about how you came in as freshmen, you're here as seniors, it still hasn't gotten done. I'm actually quite amazed that you're as composed as you are and not as, I'm not much more angry. But as we move these things forward, I just want you to fully understand what the process is that's being proposed, so that if this bill does become law, and if it does move forward in this way, if things don't exactly move as smoothly as you anticipate, it may be as a result of us having done a process a little differently from what we've done in the past. And I just wanted to express some of those realities to you so that you can go back to your classrooms and talk about them with your fellow students, because I don't think there's a single senator in the legislature who does not want to see your school get built. We all want that to happen. there's just so many things that need to be taken into consideration as well. And I do know that we had a hearing earlier today. The Guam Department of Education came and testified. Other participants in this process came and testified earlier. And there's just a lot of information being put on the table. So as we consider this, and as you guys consider where you stand on this bill, I just wanted to put all of that out there for you so that you guys can have all of the information as you guys evaluate us and the job that we're doing with respect to trying to get your school back on track. Okay? Thanks, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And we'll call the next panel up. Okay, thank you. Mayor Matanani? In recognition of your position, I will have you as a singular panel.
Test. First of all, I want to thank Speaker Cruz for coming up here to Simon Sanchez and kind of answering our wishes. I want to thank the Honorable Senator Uggan and the Honorable Senator San Augustine for authoring this bill. I want to thank the Honorable Senator Ada, the Honorable Senator San Nicolas, and the Honorable and the Jigo boy, Will Castro. You know, first of all, before I start my testimony, Senator San Nicolas, I don't know if you were previewed to know that the superintendent was very, very adamant about having all the stakeholders involved in this process. And I just want you to know that, yes, we're trying to get Public Works involved. Yes, we're trying to get GIDA involved. And yes, we invite everyone to get involved. And I'm sorry that you weren't there this afternoon, you know, to listen to their testimony. But I think that this Bill 204-34 is a good bill. At least, you know, you guys are trying, and we really appreciate that. And the students, and the end users appreciate what you're trying to do. And let me remind you that yes, we're going to run into problems, but that's why all of you are here, including me. And I want to also thank Ms. Nayan. I want to thank the Department of Education board members. I want to thank Superintendent John Fernandez for being here. Better late than never. And Mr. San Augustine, thank you very much for coming to support the efforts that our kids have been crying about. But also, it would be a dishonor for me not to recognize the Honorable 16 years Mayor Robert Lizama. Can you please give Robert Lizama a big hand for being here to support the kids? Thank you, Mayor Lizama, for being here. I fully support this bill. You know, I was questioning myself, and I don't know if the speaker noticed that I was going like this, you know, to scratch me out on the list of support, because they were, hey, I'm not afraid to admit there were a lot of questions that I had walking into that hearing room. You know, yesterday, we did our homework. I'm part of the Department of Education board members, not a voting member, but I represent 19 mayors and all the vice mayors, and they support me with a resolution on what I think is best for Simon Sanchez. And whatever we come up with, and I thank you, Senator Uggan and Senator St. Augustine, for moving forward and trying to do something here. You've really answered my call. And God bless all of you. And the best thing that we can do is just start the mixer, mix it all up, and come with the best solutions that we can come up with and build the school. You know, I'm tired of hearing the students here from Simon Sanchez, you know, crying for something that all of us leaders, you know, are responsible for. And I thank you for all stepping up to the plate. And that's all I have to say. You know, now we just gotta do the work and do what needs to be done right. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor. We'll continue down the line. I'm just going to go straight in order rather than showing any preference for anybody. Monica Fliss, a teacher here at Simon. Brian Moello. Nestor Casilla. Rocky Santos. Jericho Macareg. Arsa Abelera. Arsa. Christine Malalos. Carla Mesnayan.
Good evening. Good evening, senators. Good evening, stakeholders of Simon Sanchez. My name is Monica Fliss. I am a freshman geography teacher at Simon Sanchez. I have been for the last 8 years. I'm also a 1996 alumni. I would like to start by giving you a bit of perspective from as a teacher of how the facilities have affected my job. Let me start with not enough classrooms. Now, this means that I spend a lot of time moving materials back and forth across the campus. I now, this year, have one room upstairs on the second floor and a second room outside all the way across campus. And it is very difficult and time-consuming to prepare my classrooms because I am constantly 3 or 4 times moving back between my classrooms every day. I also have a large computer cart that has to be moved. It's very difficult. Next, on some classrooms, there are very thin walls. It causes a distraction. This year, I have a special needs student where this distraction has become an issue. I cannot control it. The classrooms next door have people, they talk, make noise, but my special needs student, because of the thin walls, is pretty affected by that. Let's see, we have small rooms. Some of these rooms are kind of like closets, and so we have more than 30 students sometimes, and it's just not enough space to do the activities we would like to do, etc. There have been several classrooms that I've had that when it rains really hard, it leaks, including my classroom outside this year. In some classrooms, there have been limited outlets. My classroom last year only had 1 outlet that I could use. Every year, I have to take my extension cord out beginning of the day, tape it down towards my projector, and take it out at the end of the day. It's very time consuming. There's got to be a better way for that. Last year I had a big old column in the middle of my room just blocking my view of my students, and I had to manage with that. These are not classrooms, right? What I'm trying to say is the facilities were not built to be classrooms. There's no windows, and that affects the environment, affects the atmosphere with no natural light. I have been teaching freshmen for 8 years, and those 8 years, freshmen coming in are promised a new school. They have come in and graduated out, and that promise has not been fulfilled. There is still no school. Here at Sanchez, we are all heart, all shark. There are great students, great teachers, great faculty and staff, great admin, and we deserve a new school. In kind of response to Senator St. Nicholas, I have a question. Why is the procurement process at DPW not working? When does accountability turn into red tape? And if something is not working, if it is broken, then we need to fix it, or we need to find a new path to our goal. So, if changing the procurement entity to GDOE is going to help us get a new school, then I'm for it. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bliss. Just continue down.
Check. Hafiday and good evening, fellow community members, students, senators, and members of the legislature. My name is Brian Muello, and I am a senior here in Simon Sanchez High School, and I rise in support of Bill 204-34 to rebuild our school and pass the contract to the Department of Education. The reason why I'm here for this bill is because as a representative and a student of Simon Sanchez, I am tired of the contract processes being denied. If we do not implement this bill and pass through the contract process to Superintendent John Fernandez and DOE, who knows how long this failed process will go on. There was talk about our school being built ever since I was in middle school, and here I am today looking at the same old school under the same circumstances it was in ever since I was a freshman. It's quite frightening to know that your school may collapse if a sudden disaster hits. It may sound very dramatic, but I know for a fact that all the students attending Sanchez and other students from other schools know that our building is slowly falling apart and deteriorating. From all the holes in the hallways to classrooms missing roof panels. I wouldn't be surprised one day if a student gets injured from being hit on the head with a falling roof panel. We have giant holes in our restrooms, stalls that don't even have doors, and toilets that don't even flush properly. Yes, there may be some things that were fixed, like covering the holes with pieces of plywood, providing new doorknobs and replacing old tiles, but my senators, may I ask you this, why continue to water a dead flower? These little things that are being fixed aren't solving anything. Why cover up and fix these problems when you can solve the bigger issue and rebuild the entire school? If we transfer this contract issue to DOE, I know there may be a chance for upcoming students to have a brand new school before the new school year begins. There are private companies that are willing to take on the contract to rebuild our school at a cheaper bid, but aren't able to because of the contract holder we have now. We are tired of being promised these things and end up being lied to. So what I suggest is to pass Bill 204-34 and get our school now. We must dig out the dead flower and plant the seeds for a new foundation for Simon Sanchez High School. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. First off, I would like to thank you all for taking some of your time in order to participate in this important meeting in regards to the rebuilding of Simon Sanchez High School. My name is Nestor Casson. I am currently a senior in this school who has participated in numerous events that is related to the rebuilding of Simon Sanchez. What I have seen throughout these 3 years while attending this school are many students who have been protesting countless times for a new campus. After all of our hard work, efforts, time, and dedication we put into this important matter, we are stopped by a wall, which is known as the procurement law. And I'll admit that I'm not an expert at procurement laws, nor able to understand how complicated it can become. It's understandable that the process can be time-consuming, but these protests have been going on for years. My brother graduated in 2014, and his class was also promised a new campus, and it is sad for me and everyone else to witness that the rebuilding of our school has not even started yet. We have also been promised that they would start building a new campus by the end of this school year. So many promises have been made, but the outcome continues to remain the same. Even though our school is mainly labeled as dilapidated, we must not forget all of the memories that have been created throughout our high school years. The people we met, the teachers who educated us, the bonding that we all created have turned us into who we are today. And as of today, we believe that these protests have been going on for too long. We are all anticipating the day that Sanchez will be rebuilt in hopes that Bill 204-34 will be passed. Only then we can move forward. Remember, once a shark, always a shark. Thank you.
Test. Good evening. My name is Jericho Macraig, and I am currently a senior attending Simon Sanchez High School in support of Bill 204-34. To start off, I would like to introduce the primary reasons of why I support this specific bill. One being the fact that it promises the rebuild of our school without the hindrance of the government and in general politics. Two being the possibility of a new school being rebuilt at a faster rate, and three, the promise of rebuilding our school for the enhancement of our education and those in the future. I personally expound upon these three reasons because I believe, like many others, that the rebuild of Simon Sanchez High School has been postponed for too long with too many promises to count, but not enough actions are actually taken to make the idea become a reality. Furthermore, like any other student, I believe that the efforts done by the government to rebuild our school and the protests done by the different construction companies are not only in vain, but also just utterly deplorable as well. As students, we demand that our school should be rebuilt because of the terrible conditions that we have to learn under for our own diplomas. Of the myriad examples of why our school should be rebuilt, here are just a couple just to put out there. The administration building, or more rather the whole campus in general, does not look fit to be a place of knowledge and education. Since the ceilings have fallen apart on many occasions, the restrooms are so filthy that just being in there makes me feel like I might contract a disease of some sort, and the classrooms with their provided property are outdated, graffitied, and apparently trash cans for some odd reason. Even more so, the amount of beetle nut spit located around the school seems to decorate our walls more than the paint does, and to top it all off, the air conditioning within the classrooms make us question, where is the air conditioning? Exemplifying my point, we must rebuild our poor excuse of a school and make it into something greater than it has ever been. Because to call this a school, our school, is something that I cannot and will not accept unless it is rebuilt from scratch and represents the true reason why we all came to school, to learn and to further our knowledge for the better lives ahead of us. Simply, all we want and ask for is our school to be a rendition of our futures as students and later members of our communities, to be adamant, proud, and happy to call ourselves representatives of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you all for listening to my testimony.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arsha. I am an alumni. This is my alma mater. I started going to school here around 2013. I graduated 2016, and I must admit I'm very disappointed coming back here. And the hearing of Simon Sanchez being rebuilt has been going around for quite a long time since I was a freshman, and that I'm actually extremely proud of everyone that graduated from here and everyone that's currently attending school here. And I think that how the government, they rely on us because we're the next future generations of doctors and teachers and politicians. And for you guys to reward us, please rebuild these upcoming seniors, juniors, and even upcoming students a better school. And I want someone, and like what you said, Mr. Senator San Nicolas, that someone needs to be held accountable if something goes wrong. So if you're going to rebuild the school, please don't just make it pretty, but I want everything to be in the right place where there's that nothing's going to be a problem in the future. And I'm quite disappointed because looking at where you guys are sitting, only a few senators actually turn up. So if you guys really stress out about these students' future education, I was expecting quite more of you guys. Thank you.
Just
Good evening, Senators. Welcome to Simon Sanchez High School, and thank you very much for allowing me and my community to speak on behalf of our school. My name is Carla Masnayan, and first and foremost, I'm an alumni of this school, class of 1990. I came back to teach after I graduated from UOG, and this is also the school where I started my administrative training. When I returned to Simon Sanchez High School in 2014, I came back as the principal. So you could pretty much say I came back in full circle. And not a day goes by that I regret that decision to come back to this school. I sit there and I watch my students come up and testify in front of the adults and in front of senators, in front of a crowd. And I commend them because they're very, very brave in expressing how much passion they have for this school and how much they love this school, despite all the issues that we're going through. But I'm also here on behalf of my administrative team to also show support in a bill that's going to help this process move forward. And however this bill is going to turn out after collaboration from different stakeholders. Mind you, though, my expertise or our expertise in this whole procurement process is very limited to purchasing school supplies or purchasing student combo desks. But nonetheless, we do want to become an active participant because we have this vision of what this school, this great school, can look like once it's done. So just a brief history, and I'm sure many of you know how this whole started. We did have that Public Law 32-121 in 2013 that authorized our government to issue an RFP for the renovation or reconstruction of Simon Sanchez High School, along with a capital improvement plan for all DOE schools. 3 to 4 years have passed by, and we've had 4 protests, appeals to the OPA, a bill to convert us to a charter school, which didn't go through because of our public outcry. And then this past summer, when we thought everything was going to go smoothly, we conducted our 4th site visit for potential bidders. Now, this is the 4th time we're conducting a site visit. Each time we do that, we manage to improve on the process in how we do our site visits. And we had hoped that this would be the case for people who are leading the charge with our RFP process. Not too long after this site visit, there was a stay that went into effect, and then later on, a notice was issued to cancel the solicitation of the IFB in its entirety. Our facility, we acknowledge, our facility is just not conducive to meeting the needs of our school community, despite all of our efforts to maintain it. We are probably the only school whose teachers share classroom, and you've heard Ms. Fliss share her struggles with sharing classrooms. We are limited with our efforts to conduct school-wide activities for our students. I am very envious of all the other schools because of the many assemblies and many activities that they're able to do in their facilities. Not to mention not having sports facilities for our athletics program. Space is so limited at our school that we have to borrow offices to accommodate related services to come to our school. This does not include the day-to-day issues that come up. For example, when the lights and the outlets go out in the science building, when our custodians have to unclog the toilet in the old Butler building, or when our science wing courtyards flood during a heavy downpour. This is our struggle, but we make do. We do the best we can to keep Simon Sanchez afloat. 4 years into the initial public law to rebuild Simon Sanchez, and we are still nowhere near our goal of a new Simon Sanchez High School. We will be graduating the class who came in as freshmen when they were promised a new school. Lately, it's been a challenge to remain positive as the principal of this school every time someone out in the community asks me, so what's the deal with Simon Sanchez? Or where are you now in the rebuild process? As principal of the school, I'm left with the answer of it's been protested, or there has been a stay in the procurement process, or even it's been canceled and the process will start all over again. Needless to say, time is a premium that we can no longer afford to pay. It is time to give the Department of Education a chance. We would like for DOE to be given the opportunity to manage the procurement process for the Simon Sanchez rebuild. Just like we teach our teachers to have professional learning communities and collaborate with one another for the best instruction for our students, we also hope that you consider that agencies who have technical knowledge in the details of finance and procurement also provide support and collaborate to make this rebuild go through. There is a lot at stake in ensuring that this process is successful, not only for the Simon Sanchez community, but also for those in line and waiting for much needed repairs for their own schools. Thank you again for allowing us to testify.
Thank you very much, Ms. Masnayan. And thank you for arranging for our accommodations here to have this hearing. Anybody? If not,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you again, everyone, for your testimony. And Ms. Masnayan, I think you hit the nail on the head, so to speak, about allowing DOE to continue to have access to technical expertise out there. Bill 204-34 does not preclude that. And one of the things that we want to ensure is that certainly that expertise is made available. And Mr. Fernandez, a little earlier, had requested that that particular component be incorporated into the legislation. So thank you for highlighting that.
thank you. We'll have the next panel. You're excused. Thank you very much for your testimony. Victoria Kitsutu. Matthew Pasquale. Andrea Lumba. Jason Acosta. Mr. Bynum. Mr. Bynum. Gregory Paris. Michael Fernandez. Tomas Iriarte.
Test.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Lumba, and I'm a senior, and I'm this SBA treasurer at Simon Sanchez High School. And I fully support Senator Frank Ugin's Bill 204-34. Let me start off with a free tour of this school. Pretend you are a new student at Simon Sanchez. We will start with the main building, the first place to go to when enrolling a new student here. It consists of 2 floors filled with rooms with ceilings as open as the sky, walls decorated with holes and splattered with beautiful black mold, cracked floors that look like shattered mirrors, and of course, how can I forget, little cute rats running around having fiestas in their homes inside the walls. Suddenly, you need to use the restroom, and you are greeted with a pool of sewage water. Thank you, Mother Nature, for making it rain today because the sharks are swimming in the flood again. You enter, and by surprise, there's a stall missing a door. Talk about no privacy. However, don't be alarmed because the stalls that do have locks the stalls that do have doors don't have locks anyways. Ring, the bell goes, and it's passing time. Not only are the hallways filled with students passing to their next class, but teachers are also moving classroom to classroom due to the lack of rooms to teach in. You hear sweet harmonies coming from the room upstairs and see the talented singers of La Voce sweating and fanning themselves because there's no aircon. Let's go downstairs and enter the gym. Please take off your jacket because you are now entering the hot zoo. You hear birds chirping and dropping their poo wherever they please, rats squeaking, and see little roaches running for their lives. Be careful, don't lean on the wall because the paint is fragile. Although, something catches your eye, a flyer. Simon Sanchez homecoming at Okadu High School tonight, last football game. That's weird. Who has a homecoming not at home? The answer is the Simon Sanchez Sharks because we don't have a football field or a track. Moving on, you walk into the science wing, and unfortunately, your science class does not have aircon. Therefore, you must sit in a hot, crowded classroom for 110 minutes. Then, the room gets dark and everyone groans because there's a power outage again. The aides come in and let you know it's time for lunch because the bell is electronically functioned. You walk to the cafeteria, avoiding puddles and leaky roofs, and as you take a seat, you look over to the other side of the caf and you see FBLG middle school students. And to your right, you see an empty stage where no performances are taking place because of the lack of space and production. Then you go to your last class and then it's time to go home. It's raining outside and the only shelter you have is that small strip of tin on the side of the school. Now that you got a sneak peek of what students here at Simon Sanchez go through on a daily, I ask you, would you let your child attend this school? A school that is unsanitary, unsafe, and uncomfortable to stay in. Would you still only care about the money instead of the safety of your child? Who cares about us, right? It's all about money. Well, guess what? We don't care about the money. We just want a new school. For a school that is on the news for the last 5 years about protests here and there, what is the holdup? What are you guys waiting for? Are you all just waiting for something really bad to happen, like a student getting hurt for all you take to finally take us seriously? When will you all finally pull through with your empty promises about a new campus? Kudos to all the Sharks who have graduated and will be graduating even with the conditions that we continue to face. For a school who has a bad facility, that didn't and still does not stop us from being great students. Therefore, I commend you all for being so patient. But just like me, I know we can only be patient for so long. We can't wait any longer. So for that being said, please give the contract to GDOE. John Fernandez got this. Thank you.
Hello? Oh. Okay, I wasn't aware I was supposed to bring these paper things, but okay. I am a student athlete as a freshman. My name is Jason Acosta, and, well, I'm a freshman. Usually when you go to high school, you would expect, hey, let's go to a new school. You come to Sanchez, wow, this is a new school. I have a choice to go to Ukadu if I wanted to because my grandma works there. But I chose to come to Sharks because, well, I want to be a Shark. I have heart. And knowing we have been in the news for fighting and all that, well, just think about, hey, the reason we fight is because of the environment we're in. The environment you choose for kids is what you see coming back. And going back to my student athlete thing, we don't have a football field, like she said. Why would you go to a home game if it's not a home game? Why would you call it a home game? I'm not saying you can take that long to build a school, but if you're gonna take long, at least make it look like you're doing something. I'm really nervous right now, I'm sorry. But I'm being a freshman, it's just, you would expect, hey, I'm a freshman, I know some people here. Hey, I can do this. Hey, I can do this. Then you see the upperclassmen saying, oh, well, look at this, look at that. It's not cool. Me, I am a freshman, like I said before. I do have a class in 110 with Movita for my third period. Her classroom is hot, and the lights didn't work when I first came to school. They had to fix the lights, and at that, it's still outside the classroom. She had to put tape on the door or on the switch so that no one else messed with it. Half the time, I can't even hear the bell going off in her classroom, and she has to look outside the door to see that everyone else is leaving. And I've come to class many times thinking, will I pass out because of how hot it is right now? It might seem funny now, but like if you've been in the class, you would see, wow, it is really hot. But it's like so different knowing what you can do versus what you have done. I'm just blabbering now, I'm sorry. But to come to everything short, we need new gear. We need new everything for football and all that other stuff. Our gear, when I first came out to get gear, all I had to buy was my cleats because I was aware that you get your shoulder pads and your pants and all that. I get my gear, who knows who used it last because, wow, this thing has scratches that probably came from 1990. And my dad played here. My grandma worked here. My dad played for this team. And it's just amazing what they were able to do to the school, make it known that, hey, we can do this. Hey, we can do that. I want to be the year, I want 2021 to be able to say, hey, we did something this year. And thank you.
Half a day, Senators. My name is Michael Fernandez, and I'm currently a senior at our beautiful school. Not beautiful on the outside, but beautiful on the inside, okay? So let me give you a backstory of whenever I come to Sanchez. So whenever I come to my beautiful school, I brace myself for all the things that could possibly go wrong in a school day. But as a busy senior that's given a lot of workload as an honors student as well, I'm accustomed to that workload and the minimum amount of time that I'm given to do that workload. So that's the least of the issues that I'm concerned when it comes to our school. What I'm worried about the most with our school is whether or not I'll leave it unscathed. So I'm sure that you've heard about all the things that's been happening at our school lately, especially in the media. Simon Sanchez School placed on lockdown after bullets found. Jigo School placed on a lockdown for a second time. And also 2 fights and 1 riot breaks out at Simon Sanchez High School. Yes, I know that our school isn't perfect, but there's no school that's perfect. There is no such thing as a school that's perfect. Every school has its shortcomings, and those shortcomings aren't representative of our entire school population. So even though the public looks down at our school for being a second-rate facility serving as like a daycare for older kids during the day, that's not what our school truly is. In reality, many of our students, faculty, admin, and staff work together to keep our school up and running. And as one big shark family, We've worked together to accomplish many things, even reaching for the smallest of goals. For example, we have a large amount of students who excel in honors and AP courses, like myself, and we have some students who compete in interscholastic sports and academic competitions. But the harsh reality is that our school facilities are struggling to keep up with our high-reaching students and faculty. For example, students huddle together in the safe corners of the hallways under the tin roofs just to shield themselves from the extreme weather, the hot climate, and also the heavy rains that frequently occur on our island. And teachers and students also have to share and work with outdated resources and equipment, if ever they even have those resources at all. And lastly, our restrooms, our gym, and our cafeteria, like what's been stated numerous times in this public hearing, they barely comply with the standards. So whenever I set foot onto my school, I always imagine what could be. What would happen if the students were better sheltered from the rain and the sun? What would happen if my peers and teachers were given more resources to work with? What would happen if our classrooms were well equipped with even the most basic of necessities? What would happen if our school were to be rebuilt? But I'll stop here and leave you with a question to think about. Senators, if you or your children or your grandchildren were given the opportunity to attend our school, given its high success rate, yet crumbling facilities, would you or would you not take that opportunity? Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Thank you very much, young man.
Buenas and Hafadai. Well, Sigiguru Perez. For the record, Gregory Gerard Perez. Total Ziguzo. O agradeci naman matam tu pago na poengi. Puet ni schedule mizu tunga nagwa familia mizu no. Donklu na sizu osmasi na matam. I would like to first recognize all of the honorable senators, the Honorable Senator Tomata, the Honorable Senator Michael Sinicolas, the Speaker, Honorable Speaker Benjamin Cruz, the Honorable Senator Frank Uggan, and the Honorable Senator William Custre. Thank you. My background is in civil engineering. I served with an outfit in the military and hold a Master Craftsman Civil Engineer badge. I know a little bit about civil engineers. I will tell you that we don't need to recreate, nor do we need any further testimony. In 2013, the Department of Interior commissioned the United States Army Corps of Engineers to do an assessment of buildings and classrooms in the insular areas. When they did this, they had totaled up the sum of all the deferred maintenance costs for the 35 schools, over 600 buildings, over 3 million square feet that the Department of Education currently manages. I will tell you that the money that has been set aside is inadequate. I don't need to express my frustrations with the system. Obviously, the system is broke. And I appreciate the efforts of Senator Atta in trying to address that with the previous bill that became law. And now Senator Uggan, who's trying to make it streamlined. And so to you, sir, anyone who's willing to step up to the plate. But I will tell you this for sure. In that report, it made it very clear 80 feet of parapet has fallen away, and that wind load, even a slight wind load, could cause the remaining parapet to collapse. I was out in the main hallway when there was a surge in electricity, while our hallways were full of students. There was sparks that were falling from the ceiling in the exterior hallway where I stood. As the children were asking, would you let your children and your grandchildren come to this school? My answer is, both of my children have graduated from here. One of my oldest grandson graduated here, and I have a granddaughter here now. This is an excellent school, bar none. We produce doctors, lawyers, engineers, politicians. We produce it all. I believe in the student body. I believe in this faculty. And I am here now to tell you I am in full support of Bill 204-34 or any other bill that might expedite the repair or replacement of Simon Sanchez High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was a witness to the sparks that he talked about. But more currently, as we sit here this evening, the second floor men's restroom on the left side of the main building, this sewage is seeping out from the ground drainage that's there since last week, and it's been closed. As we sit here this evening, a fence has cordoned off at least 5 classrooms over here. Complaining, if you will, about the issue, but we have to live this every day. And if this problem is not solved in an expeditious manner, you're going to hear it next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, until it is done, gentlemen. The students, Senator St. Nicholas, don't have to know all the nuances. We spoke to them about what this bill was about. Senator Uggan came to our school and spoke to them. We are the leaders. We should know the nuances. Our students were advised, our students were guided to give testimony from their heart about the conditions that they have to live through every single day. And you heard about this 2 years ago because you've been up here plenty times, and I applaud your efforts. And you heard about it 2 years prior to that, and 2 years prior to that, and you were here 12 years ago. So you know what the issues are, but we have to live this stuff every day. So if this doesn't get solved, gentlemen, it's going to come again. We're going to take a knee again. We'll probably even lie down this time until this is done, because this is more than just money and contracts and procurement. This is their future, guys. I'll go ahead and start my testimony. Good evening, senators. My name is Andre Bainum, and I'm a teacher, and I've spent 17 years here at Simon Sanchez. First of all, I want to thank Senator Frank Uggan and Senator Joseph Augustine for continuing to focus on the issues that plague education and our schools by drafting Bill 204. I also want to thank Speaker Cruz for seeing the urgency of this issue and scheduling this public hearing on such a short notice. And thanks to all the public servants for being here tonight and making education your top priority. You are all aware of the conditions at Simon Sanchez, so I'll spare everyone here tonight the long history lesson on the deplorable conditions of our school and how we find ourselves discussing the rebuilding once again. Instead, I'd like to focus on the process that has failed the students, parents, and teachers for far too long. The process began in 2009 when the school was first shut down for unsafe and dilapidated conditions. 4 years later, in 2013, a solution was found, money was identified, and the process to fix our public schools began. The Department of Public Works was tasked to continue the process of getting our public schools to suitable and respectable conditions. In 2013, they were tasked with drafting a proposal and finding a contractor to build a new Simon Sanchez and to renovate the other public schools on Guam. They failed. In 2014, they were tasked to draft a proposal and find a contractor to build a new Simon Sanchez High School and the other public schools on Guam. They failed. In 2015, they were tasked with drafting a proposal and finding a contractor to build a new Simon Sanchez High School and renovate the other public schools on Guam. They failed. In the summer of 2016, the rules were changed to help DPW move the process along when Senator Tom Atta introduced legislation to change the procurement process from an RFP to an IFB. I came out and supported that bill, hoping that this easier method would help the Department of Public Works move the process along. Guess what? That's right, they failed. Either DPW is highly incompetent or they are failing on purpose. I am inclined to believe the latter, gentlemen. So the question becomes, how much longer will the process be held up due to the Department of Public Works' repeated failure? How much longer will the students, parents, and teachers of Guam be subjected to this failure? How much longer must the students of Simon Sanchez be subjected to deplorable and dilapidated school conditions because of this repeated failure? How much longer will you, the representatives of the people, allow this failure to continue? Well, I'm here to say no more. No more dilapidated and rundown schools. No more waiting. No more Band-Aid fixes. And no more failure. We believe in Bill 204-34. We believe this bill will get the process moving once again by taking the procurement process away from DPW and placing it in the agency whose sole responsibility is to the education of the 40,000 school children on Guam. That's the Department of Education. We have faith in our superintendent and the Board of Education to procure a contractor, build a new Simon Sanchez High School, and renovate the other public schools on Guam. Because for us, failure is not an option, gentlemen. Because these students' futures and the future of our island depends upon it. They will be the ones in your shoes. They will be the ones in my shoes. And they will say, well, hey, this is what the government has given us. This is what we're going to give you. This is the way things have always been done. Wait 5 years, wait 10 years, wait as long until we say you're ready. And there's something really wrong with that, gentlemen. Your job as public servants is to stop supporting failure and start supporting the students of Guam and DOE by passing Bill 204-34 as soon as you can, so we can once and for all end the nightmare of dilapidated, unsafe, and decrepit school campuses on Guam. Let the 34th Guam Legislature be the body that puts an end to this long-standing issue of Simon Sanchez and the public school problems. Be the ones, gentlemen. I know you're tired of hearing this, but you're going to hear it again and again and again, because there'll be students tomorrow, and there'll be students years from now. And then we got students coming from FB. We got students coming from Benevente Middle. Have you guys been up to that school? You see how awful it is up there? I'm not trying to be all emotional and all that kind of stuff, but this is the reality. We don't have a brand new building to go to every day like you guys do, in the wonderful aircon with the beautiful wood panels around. We don't have any of that. You guys, you gentlemen have that. What do we deserve? What do we get? We're not trying to come up here and want something. We actually need this. So I know you're not here to get a lecture from Mr. Bainum. It's the last thing you wanted to do. You wanted to hear testimony on this bill. But I think it's warranted, gentlemen. We gotta get the business interests to see that their interests, their money interests, don't trump the interest of our students and their education. We have to let the politicians out there know that are not in support of this, that their political incentives and goals do not trump that of the children. Support this bill. Add the amendments. Bring DPW into it. This bill doesn't preclude them, Senator Nicholas, from that action. Bring them in. Let everybody come together. Because we really need to. I mean, I feel bad for these students over here. And I hope you do too. And I hope you can take this action. I hope you can make it as soon as possible and give the Department of Education a good start, an early start in January to get this going. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Senators. My name is Tomas Iriarte. I'm a parent, stakeholder, and it seems that everywhere I go where my kids go, building problems seem to follow me. Machinano had it. Now I'm here. It happens again. I'm not going to complain about what there's. I want to praise the fact that, Senator Ogden, you got something now that may rectify the problem. I have my confidence in the superintendent, and I'm sure he will surround himself with the people he needs to get this school built. As my co-Air Force individual next to me, Mr. Perez, said, he has engineering skills. I have engineering skills. I was in the Air Force 20-some years. We both served in the same place. We've seen it, but we came here and we saw the same thing happen here. It's deplorable. I have to listen to my daughter every day. Ooh, I'm going to have a new school. Ooh. That was 4 years ago. She's graduating this year. Hasn't happened. And the contractor that always seems to complain about it hasn't built the best schools. I work for them. Cortec is a dump. If they don't like it, I'm sorry, I'll say it. I worked at Ukadu. I saw how they built the school. Built the roof, come back later with another contractor to repair it. What the hell is that? And it's not just Ukadu. All the 3 elementary schools they built, including the middle school, all had problems. Where was Public Works? Why didn't their people see it? The workers saw it. We saw it. We can't say stop. They'll fire us. So we do the work the best we can. And we hope that you guys, our senators, can stop what's going on. I hate to see kids suffer the way they're suffering here. And it's not just students, faculty have to bear the same dilapidated condition as the students. I watch kids running from upstairs downstairs to go use the bathroom because, as the teacher said here, they can't use that one because sewer's coming out. Then they run from classroom to classroom because they can't go there because it's flooded. The gym, well, I don't know if it's fixed and everything, but it used to, you could stand in the middle and take a shower. And I hope it's done. But as a stakeholder with kids here, I don't like what I'm seeing. And the faculty don't like what they're seeing. But they produce the best that they got. And they have produced a lot. That I can proud of this school. I'm not from here. I graduated from George Washington High School way back when. And I walked into a brand new school. I was happy for it. I look at it today, oh my God, what the hell's happening? And as my fellow testifier said, go to DMS. My God, we think this is bad? Go there. It's just as bad. So please, all I'm asking you guys, support this bill. Give the superintendent what he needs. Give him the tools. But I'm sure he'll get the tools he needs from the community, from the faculty, and from other people in this community that will get this damn school built and get it over with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I share the same frustrations that you do. And I've been staying on top of the Simon Sanchez project, and have gone to every protest meeting that has been held at the OPA. Instead of digging up the past, the latest protest was basically because the solicitation package went out. The solicitation package said those buildings will be maintained in accordance with the agreement that is attached to this solicitation. The grounds will be maintained in accordance with the grounds maintenance agreement that is attached to the solicitation. So when the solicitation package went out, one of the bidders asked, where are these documents that you're referencing? And it took 30 days for the answer to come back and said, it's not attached. And then on top of that, they went one step further and terminated the solicitation, and I guess to go back to square one. Why they did that, I don't know. But where we are now is that on December 20th, the public auditor will be conducting the hearings on this protest to see if it has merit. And then that may take a couple of days, and the OPA will probably take another 30 days to come back with an answer. So we're probably looking, towards the end of January before this thing comes back. Now, I guess the first question that comes to everybody's mind is, why is it taking so long? And unfortunately, some things just don't get turned around that quickly. And that's just a reality of life. But 5 years, that's kind of long. I would agree. Hopefully, after this hearing on December 20th, some things will be determined and will allow us to move forward. This afternoon, somebody stepped forward at the public hearing and had some recommendations to make. And I think it has merit, needs to be taken a look at. But we just got to kind of take this process on step by step. I'm just concerned that if we try to move too fast, that we may end up actually stalling the process a little bit more, because the way our system of government works is if you protest and the determination that he makes is unsatisfactory, that the law allows for you to appeal that to a higher order. And if we take away all that due process, I'm afraid that we might end up in court and slow the process even more. But I don't want to go that far down the road, and I want to take this step at a time and try and work with it and move it along. I think the hearing that we had this afternoon was very good, and it certainly warrants sitting down with the Department of Education now that we're going in that direction to put them in the superintendent in the driver's seat, to sit down and start, all right, we've learned quite a bit over the past several months. Let's see how we're going to be able to make the necessary adjustments. So I guess I just wanted to take this moment to say that, after we leave here, that's it. We'll wait until you take the knee again. I think many of us are on top of it, but there's a process that we have to follow. It would be ideal if we could say, wave the magic wand and it's done. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. But before I get off of this thing, I want to commend the students that have come up. I tell you, speaking in front of a crowd takes a lot of courage. And I still get butterflies in my stomach. And I also commend you, Mr. Bainum, for the things that you're doing to get the students to apply the things that they are learning in the government class. And I think that's very important. And I don't shy away from it. I never get tired of hearing it. So continue doing what you do, and I will continue doing, many of us will continue to do what we're doing to try and get this thing moving. Thank you.
Test. If I could, thank you for those words and everything. 5 years, and I kind of laid it out that each and every year, the sole department that was responsible for that has failed, and then this last time, I guess the failure was so, Senator, I don't know, egregious, that they didn't even have what they said they needed to have in order to have it. Wasn't in the packet. What is going on here that we are not privy to? Who are the powers that are involved in this process? Because that seems to me, because they've built bridges, they've built roads, they've given contracts out for many different things in the past 5 years. But there's something about this $100 million bill that just kind of doesn't smell right. Something else is happening. It's not the procurement. I was watching, on YouTube, on Facebook today, this thing at 2:30, the public hearing, and it says you got to get people in here who know the procurement process. No one knows the procurement process, sir. No one, because if they did, would have been done. Something else is happening, and it's at the detriment of these students behind me. That's what needs to be pulled out. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what needs to be pulled out. Asking us to wait a little longer, hey, thanks. We'll continue to, wade through the sewage and fight for the restroom stalls and do everything we need to do to survive. You guys got to move this process along. I'm sorry, sir. It needs to be moved in an expeditious manner. These kids are not here bluffing. It's dangerous out there. It's awful. It's not conducive to learning. But I will say that last year we graduated the most students of any high school on Guam. We have the most students enrolled their freshman year at the University of Guam. We've had the Bill Gates Scholar, and there was another scholar, I think, that was given last year, 2 years in a row, to Simon Sanchez. We need you guys to move. We need you to move expeditiously. I know there's going to be faults, but we got to bust through that because this is what's going on. And I think removing DPW from the equation and having them be a supporting cast and having the board and our superintendent, John Fernandez, handle this process and just give it to whoever, because we don't care who gets the money. That seems to me the big, thing here is, hey, if we don't get it, if this group doesn't get it, no one's getting it. That's why you have, if I worked for you, Senator, and you told me to do things 5 times, and every time I screwed up, I wouldn't be working for you anymore. But we still have these people working to get this job done, and it's not getting done, but yet our hands are tied, and we're the ones who have to suffer for this. So again, thank you for the words of support and everything. Senator Cruz, thank you for having this public hearing, and you gentlemen for coming out, and Senator Uggan for drafting this bill. But you need to move on this thing. It's not, it's not something that we can just kind of wait for the process and wait for this and wait for that, because it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Thank you.
If I might, please. I brought out that figure, 89.9 million, for a for a reason. That's only deferred maintenance costs. It had not taken into account the rebuild of a new school. So some of that money's tied up, not just for our school, but for the master plan, the GDOE master plan that we so desperately need, so that our superintendent might go to you and say, in addition to the $100 million that the public law authorized, we now need X amount of dollars. And if we look at the 2013 report and fast forward now, we're now approaching 2018, 5 additional years of deferred maintenance have, come upon the department. The longer it takes to get this through, the more money that it's going to cost for the delays. And if we can't get this right, how about the contractual issues to make the repairs to each of the schools that so desperately need them, other than Simon Sanchez High School? Sidzo Smasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first wanted to echo the testimony about the beauty of Simon Sanchez on the inside. I have 3 Simon Sanchez graduates in my office, and they all hold leadership positions. My chief of staff is a graduate of Simon Sanchez. My senior policy advisor, who's here tonight, is a graduate of Simon Sanchez. My committee director is a graduate of Simon Sanchez. All very young people, and Simon Sanchez graduates. Absolutely, this is an excellent school, and they put out very, very talented young people. I wanted to chime in on some of what Senator Ada was sharing, because he's talking about a timeline that's been, a long time coming. It's been 5 years, as Mr. Bainum brought up. What we may risk doing with Bill 204 is going all the way back to the drawing board of even reenacting public law. The superintendent, in his testimony today, raised several points that he said need to be addressed with respect to this bill that actually bring us all the way back to the drawing board of even the enabling legislation to get the school started. He talked about wanting to have the opportunity to select a procurement strategy that is both appropriate and in compliance with current procurement laws. So they want to actually reevaluate the entire strategy of going out and procuring. They want to have the flexibility to evaluate the project in compliance with existing procurement laws and regulations. They say that we do not believe that the evaluation criteria should be specified, defined, or prioritized by legislation. It currently is. So that would involve us going back and re-legislating the entire process of building the school. He talks about how the department would need to review all existing public laws and be allowed to make recommendations to the legislature for any further changes needed if we find them and any of them are inconsistent with our chosen procurement strategy. So basically what the superintendent is saying is that he can do it, but he's going to come back to us and we're going to have to rewrite a whole bunch of laws. And what concerns me is I understand that this process has become very frustrating because of how long it's taken under the current track. But I'm worried that we might be, you guys ever see that cartoon where the miner is digging underground and he's like 6 inches away from the gold and then he walks away because he just gave up? I'm worried that that might be where we are under the current process. We may be actually very, very close to finally getting this over the hump. Or we can go back and potentially have to rewrite almost all of the laws that got the project started from the beginning. And that will be a very, very time-consuming process. I wanted to be very, very upfront with you about that. If we do this, it could restart everything all the way back to square one, depending on what the department's needs are going to be in order for us to move this forward. So I wanted to put that in the context of the protests themselves, because the protests that were filed, that were adjudicated by the Office of Public Accountability, they didn't just kick back these protests, they didn't just honor these protests frivolously. They were actually quite significant, some of the protests. One of them was that they found that the negotiating committee failed to properly evaluate the proposals to ensure they were responsive and met all of the RFP's requirements. Now, the negotiating committee included DOE, DPW, GITA, and in the superintendent's testimony, one of the first things he wants to include those very same groups all over again, which is, I think wise, because you want the expertise at the table. But we had the expertise already, and it created that error, and it got kicked back. If we start the process all over again, this adjudicated result starts back to square one, and they could potentially protest all over again if that same committee makes the same mistakes, because we've reset the clock. The other protest was that the contract violated the RFP's $100 million limit by including language that potentially could increase the amount of the contract above the aforementioned limit. That's not a small issue. You know, they basically, what the public auditor said was the bid that was, the IDIQ contract that was awarded was way more than what they were authorized to spend. And the reason why that has to get kicked back isn't because we want to nickel and dime the project, it's because the law specified a certain amount of money. If we're gonna go and increase that, we gotta go back, amend that law and increase that amount. It's gotta go through the budget process to make sure the funding is gonna be there for that. And that can restart the clock all over again if we have to go and reissue a whole new set of funding. They did mention on numerous occasions, and I underlined it and I circled it, the areas where DPW screwed up. And you're right, Mr. Bainum, they screwed up a lot. And what I would prefer is we could either try and rewrite the law under this one limited circumstance that may potentially start us all the way back to the beginning, or we can say, going forward, if you keep making mistakes, toka, you're going to get a $10,000 fine if you keep making these same mistakes. And I think that might be the way that we can not have to reset the entire process and create a consequence for these guys who keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Because if we do this, we can put DOE in charge, and as with everybody in the room, I have a lot of confidence in our superintendent, Mr. Fernandez, but there's still no consequence if a contractor keeps protesting frivolously. Very little consequence. The way the law is written is that the public auditor may assess fines. And that's I think, an area that we need to tighten up. So I would like for us I wanted to put all of that on the table because I understand that everybody's testifying in favor of this and they're pretty insistent. But I want you to fully understand that if we do this, as Mr. Greg Perez asked for, you want us to expedite the replacement of the school. I don't know if this necessarily expedites that. It will create a new process. It will put a different management team in place, but it will start the process all over again. And that management team has already testified that they may need existing laws to be changed just to be able to move forward. And that, I can tell you from the legislative standpoint, is a cumbersome process. We introduce the bill, we draft the bill, we introduce it, we have the hearing, it goes back for redrafts, it goes to session, it passes, it gets signed into law. Senator Addo was talking about 30 to 60 days from December 20th. I can assure you, if we have to start rewriting additional laws, it's going to take far longer than that, all because of the process that we have to follow in order to pass things within the appropriated timelines. So I fully support, I want to make this very clear, I fully support doing everything we need to do to expedite this process. I just want to make sure that if we're going to be going down this road, we're not actually that miner who's just a foot, 2 feet away from the gold already, going back and restarting and redigging the mine from an entirely different shaft. So I'm committed to working with the committee and with the chair and with the author, as well as Senator Addo, who has a very strong background in procurement, to really figure out, is this going to take longer or is it going to be more expeditious? And I will commit to you tonight that I will choose the path that I think may be more expeditious. But I can also say that rewriting laws and based on all these recommendations, it's a pretty tall order also. So I wanted to just be very, very transparent with you about what my read is of things right now, and basically put that out for you to be able to, if you have any questions or concerns about that.
So my assessment of DPW and placing blame on them, and my idea of the people in power that are in control of this is wrong. It's the legislature and the laws that you guys have created. By your arguments, sir, you're saying that all these laws would have to be changed, but all those laws are being followed now to no avail, to no school, to protests. So it's not DPW then after all. It's the legislature.
Oh no, just to clarify,
Because
Mr.
if
Baden.
that's the if that's the case, then you know how you guys are we're gonna continue on the same path, and the same path is leading us nowhere. But you created that path. You know, logic dictates that if we're gonna move it over to DOE as the senator suggested, and we all kind of agree is the path to go, then new support and rules and laws would have to be written. And if that's going to take time, like Senator Ada said, because we want to get it right and we want to stay out of court, so be it. I think we're willing to take that. Is it going to take 5 years? I don't think you gentlemen will allow that to happen. Is it going to take 3 years? I don't think so either. I think we can get this done in about 2 years. I think we can get all the things necessary to get it done. But I think trying to look at the law and blame the law, then you're blaming yourself for the problems. That's all I'm saying.
You guys are talking about consequences. If you guys want a consequence, why don't you guys fire the people that you guys are hiring? Why don't you guys give jobs to the people who don't have jobs? There's people here on Guam. In the States, I do see it a lot, but out here in Guam, I don't see it really rare, but I know there is. There's people who looking for jobs. I'll see their signs and they'll say, looking for a job. Well, why don't you guys have them help you? It's just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Your point? Go. We'll excuse this panel. We have 2 more individuals that wanted to sign up. Kevin Dick. Kevin and Neil Cosby. Neil and Kevin. I don't know. I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Anybody else want to testify? Please come forward. Anybody else? Just take one of the seats. Oh, Donovan Gaines. Anybody else? We have 2 more seats. Not? We'll start this way and just put down.
Good evening, and my name is Kevin, and I am a junior in Simon Sanchez High School. I support Bill number 204-34 written by Senator Frank Ogden because it will renew the process of rebuilding the dilapidated school that was grounded because of the procurement process 2 years ago. This problem has been with the community since for half a decade, and this bill will reinstate the hope that we lost along those years. Last year, we had the town meeting in this cafeteria regarding the status of our school. The bill was to make this school into a charter school. The difference between that town hall meeting last year and the meeting today is that the meeting last year left us feeling abandoned, like we were a kid deserted in the middle of a crowded mall. If the government turned the school into a charter school, they might return to their excuse that since it doesn't fall into their authority anymore, they can't do anything anymore about it. This year's town hall meeting with this bill is different. This meeting reinstated our hopes once again, and it answered one of the questions that we had, which I would say later. Transferring the process from DPW to GDOE is, I believe, an astonishingly great idea. GDOE knows us better than anybody, and they know our struggles. In fact, it is their job to fill our young minds not only with knowledge, but the determination to move against the odds, to push the boundaries, to shoot for the stars, to land on the moon and back with pride. I believe GDOE has more than enough to handle this situation. And so, Mr. Senators, I like to invite you to spend a day in this school, in this cafeteria, and maybe do one of your sessions in this cafeteria. If that's what it takes to change your minds, then so be it. And as I mentioned earlier, the question that was answered with this bill, and that question is, does the government care about us, the students? And so far, I believe, yes, they do care about us. But it wasn't because the students waited for the senators to move, but because we, the students, realized that we had the power to make you move, that it is one of our foundations, and the students use it well, the power of the people. So please, Mr. Senators, I plead to you, we plead to you, that you use what little hope that we have right now, the hope that we had, the little hope that we had for you and your work to your advantage. Because all it takes is that small amount of hope to move our feet off of the ground and move again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello and good evening, gentlemen. I'm Donovan Gatus. I am a senior here at Simon Sanchez High School, and I'd like to start off with acknowledging everyone else that testified before me. And I'm going to tell you now that the people that have come before you today, and I've known them for years, they're one of the best people in this community. They're one of the brightest minds, one of the most productive people, the most active, the most outstanding people in this community, and I feel like their voices need to be heard. I understand that everything, like a lot of repetitive things were said to you, that the school is really trashy, it's poor, it's in a poor condition, and people are frustrated with you, the legislature. They are frustrated with DPW, and I understand that, but this is more about, I support this bill, Bill 204-32, if I'm correct, but how do I say this? This isn't the first time that people have come up to you testifying about how they support your bills, but I hope that was the last time you failed. I'd like this bill to be the final push into getting this school rebuilt. I want this to be the last time we have to say, we failed, we have to try again from square one. I understand from your last response that we may have problems, we may have some hiccups, we might have to move back a couple steps, but as long as it does not take more than, like Mr. Bingham said, maybe more than 2 years, because I understand where you come from in your past. You came from Simon Sanchez High School. Your subordinates came from Simon Sanchez. So I like to assume that you understand where we come from. So I'm going to assume that you would expedite this process as much as possible. But with you sound very conscious about the problems that may happen, but you sound very you don't sound very confident about solving them. And I'd like you to just be more confident. You are representing us. You will make decisions for us. You were given the power. We give you the power to make these changes, and these problems have to be fixed. And I want our superintendent of GDOE coming to our school telling us this is how it's going to be done. We are making progress. I don't want you to show us the bill and then we just wait for something else to happen, because that's what's been happening lately. And then we see in the news, oh, there's another protest. In my opinion, the only entity that should be delaying this process is Simon Sanchez. But so far, Simon Sanchez wants the school to be rebuilt. And the only way Simon Sanchez would ever delay this process is if our superintendent or any other entity in GDOE gives us poor blueprints, because I understand that with this bill, GDOE will now be given full responsibility. But I believe, like the last meeting with the charter school, some said that that bill was proposed in order to shift the blame, and I do not want this to be the same thing. I do not want this to be to shift the blame to GDOE. I want this to prove that GDOE is more capable in this situation. I am a Marketing 3 student. I'm a senior. I'm going to graduate with a certificate of mastery this year, but we don't have our store. ProStart doesn't have their kitchen, and when our ProStart students and our marketing students graduate with a certificate of mastery, certificate of completion, it's not going to be good as the other school's own. It's not going to be good as theirs. They had a store, they had more experience, they had more ways to apply themselves, and they had more resources. But at the end of the day, our certificate of completion, our certificate of mastery cannot compare to those in spirit. When we go to GCC with our extra credits, with our Head Start, truly their Head Start is much better than ours, because our facilities, the fire department has condemned our facilities and we are not allowed to use them. And the process, I believe, is stagnant at this point. We are not going to get our facilities back. So it's too late for me, my class. I understand that. But I want our posterity, I want future generations, I want our faculty, I want our new faculty and old to appreciate a new campus. I understand that it's too late for me, but I'd really appreciate it if the next generation had better opportunities than we did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Young man.
Good evening. I actually wasn't planning on coming out to testify tonight, but after hearing all my peers talk up, come out and talk, really inspired me to, sign up to testify. While I might not be the most eloquent speaker or writer, if it takes a small boy with a big stutter to come out and speak for this bill, so be it. Hi, my name is Nell Cosby, and I am a proud senior of this school, Simon A. Sanchez. And I am here before you tonight in support of Bill number 204-34. I actually remember a couple years ago, back when I was in middle school, I first heard about the school getting rebuilt. And I would talk to all my teachers about how the schedule would go if the students at Sanchez would have to come to our school and do the whole double schedule thing. That was in 2013. I don't know if you have checked a calendar recently, but it's kind of 2017, and practically zero progress has been made. The only thing that has happened to our school is almost getting shut down due to health problems, or health code violations, rather. My little sister goes to that school over there, and I don't want her to go here with how awful the facilities are, because I was promised a new school, and now I'm leaving here knowing the fact that my sister has to come back, or has to transfer into this school with the same not as great facilities as the other schools have. Actually, let me tell you something about myself. I am the dance team president. I hope you recall what one of my fellow peers said earlier. Her name was Joyce Martin, about the dance team no longer having the barn or the room that we practice in to use. That room, the barn, which is famously known here at Sanchez, is now actually two rooms, 314A and 314B. And the only reason why that is because they condemned about 10 classrooms here and actually closed off an entire ward because of the health code violations. And about four of those rooms are actually permanently fenced off by the cafeteria. They're actually over there. And because of that, they constructed a wall inside the barn, like an actual wall. Even though the barn itself has a divider, they made a wall, which kind of makes no sense to me. And it really makes me sad because, like, why? All we want is a new school, like new facilities. And fixing some of those rooms over there doesn't really change the fact that our school is kind of crappy. Like, my team is suffering because of problems that aren't even our fault. Actually, not even just my team. Everyone is suffering. The faculty, the staff, if not especially the teachers. They're forced to hop in between rooms that they share with one or maybe two other teachers. And actually, earlier I mentioned that I was a proud senior of the school. Do you know why? Because my peers perform fantastically in terms of academics, athletics, and even overall in just their personalities in general. Don't we deserve anything better that will make this process so shorter? We really aren't asking for that much. All we want is actual rooms for all the classes that we offer. A new building to replace the dilapidated one that we were so afraid to step in fear that it'll crumble down onto us. And all the protests to just stop. I will leave you with just one more question, however. Will you ever get tired of coming to Sanchez just because we all need a new school? I implore you to really think about us, the students, the faculties, and the staff of Simon Sanchez, because we waited quite a long time for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Test. Minagov puengi, senators. Zos masin mi fanatun midzo. Mala zabay kadidak dididi talangan midzo na. Dan nafan manhungong afan na sasangan pago na puengi. Malago zolokwi umabiba todo do. Imanataw eskwela mami. Nita pagpakyado siya todo. Itataw eskwela mami ni manmato. Kololonya imanyay na zani famagon ni manmato gwini gimenan midzo da man mofonay gwidzo umadingan. Manggagam gwini sa manuugong sa manatang esam. We are here, we are lamenting, we are weeping for the conditions of our school. I don't want to sit down here and elaborate any further about some of the concerns that everyone so eloquently put forth before me. But these students here are the reason why we're here. They're the reasons why we have this job. And we are happy to come here to serve them. We are proud of our community here. However, we can do so much better if we were given the proper facilities. One of my classrooms for several years was one of the ones that was condemned over here. Again, you can tell it's pretty bad. If you're there standing up and you're in the middle of a lesson and termites start flying by, oh, it's pretty bad. You can tell it's pretty bad if the roof leaks. But it's even worse when the floor leaks. So we need to look at what's going on here, right? The procurement process and whatever else is the obstacle that's standing in our way. We're not all fully aware of what the process entails, but if I'm not mistaken, one of the errors of our procurement process is that we're not looking at quality, right? We're looking at the cheapest. What is the cheapest thing? Let's take our roads, for example, out there. How long has it been since they did construction out there, have inconvenienced many families living in our areas, but then they only put a very thin layer of blacktop that breaks away in less than a year? What is that? Okay, that's not what I'm hoping to happen here at our school. Also, in the procurement process, if we take a look at it, the process right now, I believe why Cortec is protesting is because DPW or whoever else was in charge for making this happen kind of lumped everything together in one lump procurement deal. We need to take a look at other government agencies that have successfully went forth with their project without a hitch. Take, let's say, for example, the airport with the multi-million-dollar extension that I don't believe was protested at all. You know, that's one example, if I may put forward. And so, also, earlier, I believe, right, what the superintendent was suggesting, I wasn't here to have the privilege of hearing his actual speech, but if what I gathered correctly from what you were saying, Senator, about him wanting to start from the drawing board,
I believe the reason why he wants to do that is because there is something that is obviously not working. So the only way to get to the root of the problem and identify it and address it is to start back at the beginning, to start back at the drawing board so that we can see what we need to fix. Where did we go wrong? So that we can discover what our error is so that we can fix it and we will never have that problem again. Here at Simon Sanchez High School, we have a long history of producing very good students. We have won countless competitions and awards, not just here in Guam and the Marianas, but also on the national level in the States. Okay, we kick butt out there. And so imagine how much more we can do if we are given the proper facilities to teach the future of our island and our community, and to give them what they need to get the skills and the jobs that they need done. Sizos Masi, Biba Simon Sanchez.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to testify? If not, I will adjourn this hearing and thank all of you and thank Ms. Magnai. What? Yes. If there's anybody that wants to submit testimony, we will keep the record open for 10 days. Send it in by email to senator@senatorbjcruz.com. If you have any other friends that want to submit testimony, please have them send it by email to us. And with that, I will declare this hearing adjourned.